Ripple Effect by Tony Angelo. The hum of the fluorescent light in the kitchen was Elena's constant companion, a thin, high whine that cut through the silence of their small apartment. Here in America, silence was a different kind of noise. Not the comforting quiet of their village, filled with the distant bleating of goats, or the murmur of neighborly gossip, but a vast, empty hush that pressed in from every side. Even the cars outside seemed to glide with a muted, indifferent purpose. Elena's calloused, quick hands moved over the stove, stirring the simple breakfast of oats, gachas. Not like the rich, creamy atole her mother made, but what Mateo can afford. She watched the steam rise, a small, comforting cloud in the sterile air. She hated the grocery store. The aisles seemed to stretch on forever. An overwhelming canyon of choices she couldn't read, couldn't understand. Rows upon rows of identical boxes, each with its own boastful English words. She would point, nod, hope. The cashier, a girl with tired eyes and painted nails, would scan, her face a mask of polite impatience. Elena would count out the dollar bills, unfamiliar and flimsy, praying she had enough, praying she wasn't making a fool of herself. Yesterday, the woman at the market, Mrs. Henderson, a kind soul with silver hair, had tried to explain something. Daylight saving, dear. Remember to spring forward. Elena had smiled, a tight, forced smile, nodding vigorously. See, daylight. Very good. What was daylight? A new holiday? A special day for savings? Her mind, already strained by the effort of processing 1,000 new sounds and sights, had simply filed it away as another untranslatable American oddity. But the words, spring forward, had snagged, a small burr in her thoughts. Spring, like the season. Forward, like moving ahead. But why? Why would the daylight need saving? Didn't the sun just do its thing? Mateo came into the kitchen, his morning face a map of exhaustion. He was always up before dawn, out the door to the construction site before the city had woken. He came home smelling of sawdust and sweat and a quiet, simmering frustration. Elena knew it by the way he walked, the way his shoulders slumped just that fraction more each day. He used to be so proud, so sure, a man of the land. A respected elder in their village. Here, he was just another pair of hands, another grunt in a sea of unknown faces, struggling to make out the foreman's rapid-fire English. His Spanish, so eloquent, so full of proverbs and stories, was useless here. "Breakfast, mi amor," Elena said, her voice soft, trying to inject some warmth into the chilly apartment. He grunted, pulling out a chair. His eyes were clouded, those bright eyes that always shone with fierce determination. "Another day for the gringos," he muttered to himself, rather than to her. "They speak so fast, like birds chattering." He pushed the gachas around with his spoon. Today, the foreman, he was talking about time. Hora. Something about changing it, moving the clock. Is this another of their games? Elena shrugged, a ripple of unease going through her. The old woman at the market, she said daylight, like a holiday. Maybe it makes us work less? The hope was fleeting. A tiny spark. Mateo snorted. Work less? In America? Impossible. They want more, always more. They will make us chase the sun, eh? This is foolishness. He looked at their old kitchen clock, a relic from their village, its face familiar and comforting. This clock, he tapped it, it knows time. The sun knows time. Why confuse it? He rose, picked up his worn lunch pail. I go. Don't worry about this time change. It is just talk, like everything else they say. Elena watched him go, his broad back disappearing around the corner. Just talk. But the words echoed, a nervous rhythm. Their teenage daughter Sophia was already up, her face buried in a phone Elena barely understood. Sophia understood everything. She flew through English like a bird herself, quick and graceful. School was easy for her, too easy. She was their compass, their dictionary, their bridge to this baffling new world. Yet sometimes Elena felt Sophia was getting swept away from her, pulled by the currents of American youth and leaving them marooned upon the shore. Mama, did you remember to set the clocks? Sophia asked, not raising her head from her screen, her voice too casual. Elena furrowed her brow. Set them? For what? Mateo said it's just talk. Sophia finally looked up, her face a mix of exasperation and pity. No, Mama, it's real. Daylight saving. Everyone does it. We spring forward an hour tonight. You lose an hour of sleep, but then it's lighter later. She spoke fast, words tumbling in a stream Elena could hardly catch. My teacher explained it. It's for energy or something, so people have more daylight in the evening. Lighter later, Elena repeated, the concept alien. But the sun, it sets when it sets. It does not wait for us. It's not the sun, Mama. It's the clocks. We move the clocks. Sophia sighed, a sound that made Elena's stomach clench. Just move the one in the kitchen. And your alarm, please. Otherwise, you and Papa will be late for everything tomorrow. Later that evening, the television droned its incomprehensible English in the living room. Leo, their youngest, was mesmerized by the flashing colors, the exaggerated smiles of the people on screen. He was too young to understand the words, but he understood the emotions, the simple narratives. He was a sponge, soaking it all in. Elena looked pointedly at the kitchen clock. 7 o'clock. If she moved it ahead, then it would be 8. Yet it wasn't 8. It was 7. Decades of attuning her internal rhythm to the sun and the needs of her family rebelled against this. It felt like a lie, a deception. Mateo entered. His face was grim. Did you touch the clock? He asked in a very low voice. Sophia says we must, Elena whispered. She says everyone does. Mateo snorted. Everyone? What everyone? The Americans, the ones who throw away perfectly good food and make us feel like dirt for picking it up. They want to confuse us. This time change is another way to make us lose our way. He pointed at the clock. This clock, it is ours. It tells our time. My father's clock. This is not for them to change. But if we are late, Mateo, Elena begged, her voice shaking, your work, my cleaning job, they will be angry. Let them be angry, he boomed, a rare flash of his old temper. Time is God's, not theirs. We will follow our clock. We will follow the sun. He glared at the clock as if it were a traitor. Foolishness. Sophia came into the doorway, holding her phone. Papa, please. It is not a trick. It's just the way it is here. My phone already changed. Everyone's phones will change automatically. If you don't, you'll be an hour behind everyone. Imagine missing your bus, missing work. Mateo turned to her. His eyes narrowed. You side with them, Ija? With their twisted logic? This is time, Sophia. Solid, unmoving. They cannot just take an hour from us, or give it back, like it is a trinket. What is lost cannot be returned. It's not lost, Papa. It just shifts. It'll be a different hour, but the same amount of time in the day. Sophia's voice was tight with frustration. Her parents' stubbornness was a familiar, heavy cloak. She knew she couldn't explain it in a way they would accept, not when it defied their very understanding of the natural order. She set her own alarm, a quiet declaration of independence, and retreated to her room. Elena looked from Mateo's stoic, angry face to the unchanging clock. Panic began to prickle at her. What if Sophia was right? What if Mateo's pride led them to ruin? But what if Mateo was right and this was some elaborate gringo trick? Her head ached with the effort of understanding. In the end, out of a stubborn loyalty to Mateo and a deep, inarticulate fear of further confusing their already complicated lives, she left the kitchen clock untouched. From the couch, Leo piped up. Mama, why is the big clock going to sleep? Will the sun be late tomorrow? His innocent question hung in the air, a bell tolling the oncoming confusion. The quiet of the morning was heavy, different. Elena waked with a start. The room was draped in a deeper, thicker darkness than usual. Her internal clock, years of rising with the sun, screamed too early. But the kitchen clock, the old one, showed 7:30. This couldn't be correct. The sun was nowhere to be seen. The street outside was utterly silent. No distant rumble of the first bus. No early morning footsteps. A cold dread seeped into her bones. She made her way to the window and pulled back the thin curtain. Pitch black. Not soft pre-dawn gray. The impenetrable black of middle night. But the clock, it said 7:30. Her chest began to constrict with panic. Had she overslept? Dramatically? Missed Mateo's departure? Missed her own bus hours ago? Mateo stirred beside her, grunting. "What is it?" he mumbled, his voice thick with sleep. He opened his eyes, squinted at the window. What madness is this? It is still night. He looked at the bedside clock, a digital one Sophia had given him, which had changed automatically. Then he looked at his old watch, faithfully ticking on his wrist, which stubbornly showed an hour earlier. His face contorted. This is it. Their trick. They have stolen our morning. He leaped from the bed, sudden, explosive anger propelling him. "Elena! The clock! Did you touch it?" He ran to the kitchen, his bare feet slapping against the cold linoleum. He stared at the old clock, its face still reading 7:30. Then at the microwave, reading 8:30. The digital clock on the oven, too, 8:30. His old watch, 7:30. It was all a lie. It was all wrong. But the sun, Mateo!" Elena wailed, following him, her heart hammering. "It is not here. It is early. We are late for everything." Her mind spun. If the clock said 8:30, and it was still dark, then they had lost an hour, not just of sleep, but of the entire day. The world had moved on without them, in the dark. A crushing sense of failure, of being left behind, washed over her. This is why we fail here. Sophia's alarm blared from her room, cheerful and insistent, grating on Elena's raw nerves. A moment later, Sophia emerged, dressed for school, her backpack slung over her shoulder. Her face was serene, almost calm. "Good morning," Sophia said, a small, tired smile playing upon her lips. "See, I told you, it's 8:30. The sun will be up soon. It just feels weird because it's an hour later for the clocks now." Mateo whirled on her, scarlet with rage. 8:30? Look outside, Hija. It is still the blackness of night. This is a lie, a conspiracy. They have moved the time to confuse us, to make us late, to make us seem incompetent. He jabbed a shaking finger at the clock above the kitchen sink. This is our time. This is honest. The rest is just a game. No, Papa, it's not a game. Everyone's on this time now. If you go to work at 7:30, you'll be an hour late. It's really 8:30. The stores are opening. The buses are running. Everything. Sophia's voice rose, her tone desperate. She was trying to bridge the chasm, but it was too wide. Elena clutched at her head. "But the sun, Sophia. Where is the sun? It feels like we're in a different place. Like we moved and the world stood still. Or it moved and we stayed still." The feeling was disorienting to a point of nausea. It wasn't about the clock. It was about the twisting and turning of the very fabric of reality under her feet. Leo wandered out of his room, rubbing his eyes and yawning. "Mama, why is it still dark outside? My cartoons are not on yet." His simple complaint cut through the chaotic energy of the adults. The world was utterly out of sync with Leo's needs, too. Mateo paced the small kitchen, his anger a hot, palpable thing. "They want us to be late, to be confused. This daylight saving is a punishment. It is not natural. Time comes from God, from the movement of the heavens, not from some politician who decides to play with the numbers on a clock." He slammed his hand on the counter. "I will not go to work now. My body says it is still too early. They can fire me. I will not be a fool for their tricks." His dignity, his sense of control was under attack. This wasn't just the clock. It was an assault on his very being. "But Papa, if you don't go, they will fire you," Sophia pleaded, tears welling in her eyes. "This is how it works here. You have to follow their time. It's not a trick. It's just a rule. Like driving on the right side of the road or paying taxes." Elena watched them, her husband, her daughter, both speaking in truths she couldn't reconcile. Mateo's truth was ancient and unyielding, rooted in generations of natural rhythm. Sophia's truth was sharp and immediate, a product of this new, baffling world. Which truth would save them? Which would ruin them? Her own body felt out of step, her stomach churning, her head light. The smell of coffee, usually a comfort, now felt like a bitter reminder of how wrong everything was. What's the point of saving daylight if there's no daylight to save? Elena murmured, more to herself than to them. Why would they make us lose an hour? An hour of sleep, an hour of rest, an hour of morning quiet. It is gone, stolen. Eventually, Matteo, grumbling and resentful but swayed by Sophia's panicked insistence about his job, left for work. He stalked out, his shoulders hunched, feeling like a pawn in some kind of game he didn't understand. Elena watched him go, a fresh wave of anxiety washing over her. Would he make it on time? Would his boss yell? Would this be another reason for America to chew them up and spit them out? The sun finally made its reluctant, slow appearance, painting the sky in pale, washed-out light. It felt wrong. It felt like an imitation, a pale copy of the sun she knew. Elena moved through her chores in a daze, her internal clock insisting it was an hour earlier than the microwave, an hour earlier than the television news, an hour earlier than the buses rumbling past outside. She was out of sync, a discordant note in the bustling symphony of the city. Tired from the confrontation, Sophia went to school, her face streaked with silent tears. She was carrying the weight of translation, not just of words but of whole worldviews, and it was crushing her. She loved her parents, but this resistance to this new reality felt like a heavy chain, binding them all. Why couldn't they see it was just a clock? Why did it have to be a betrayal? Leo, finally placated by cartoons that eventually appeared on screen, looked up at Elena. "Mama," he said, his eyes wide and earnest. "Did the sun forget to wake up today?" Elena looked at her son, at his innocent confusion, and felt an ache deep in her soul. "No, mijo," she thought, "not the sun. It is us. We are the ones who have forgotten how to wake up in this new, confusing world, where even time itself bends to arbitrary whims." The world felt less solid, less dependable than it had yesterday. A new, unsettling fear had taken root. If they could change time, what else could they change? What else was a lie? The silence of the apartment, once just empty, now felt heavy with uncertainty, a deep, unsettling suspense about what bizarre truth tomorrow might bring.